Something that could be a little bit more complex to draw is something like a printer. So if you think of a printer, you can already recognize some shapes that it might have. But when it comes to icons, you really need to simplify and simplify it. So to me, it seems like we're only going to have like maybe 3 rectangles that we need to use to create it. So if we have a main shape like this, and I'm going to make it 1 pixel smaller than my grid, because I do think that it's gonna be I think centering might work actually in here, but then I just need to make sure that it still follows the guide in here by making this a little bit smaller. Okay, so if we have a shape like this, I just need to remove the fill. That's gonna be perfect. Another shape we're gonna need for this is, so I'm envisioning this as like paper coming out of it. Yeah, 4 is gonna be fine on all sides. That's definitely gonna be like 1 of roundness, perfect. And you see now why I made it a little bit smaller in here, because this part and this part is smaller, but this part is bigger, so it looks more like a square than a rectangle would. Then finally, I do think a lot of printers have like this part as well. That's kind of the part from which the paper is coming in, and maybe just to make it a really recognizable printer, maybe just like a dot like this. But I think I'm actually gonna have to use maybe if I use a stroke like this and make it go outside. Yeah, that's definitely too big. So because it needs to be 2. So that's too big. What if we made it like really small, like yeah, another problem that happens in Figma if you make this smaller than the actual stroke size, or if you make the stroke size so big that it kind of doesn't recall the sizes of the shape anymore, you're gonna have some empty spaces in there. So like this, if I make it 0.1, you can actually see that the stroke has some empty space in here that's not filled with a stroke. So I'm gonna remove that, and I'm just gonna create 1 single dot in here, and that 1 single dot oh, did it go away? So yeah, 1 single dot, let's make it 2. I'm gonna have to kind of create something in here that's gonna represent the shape of a circle, but it's gonna be a little bit too hard for the stroke. I do want to keep it as a stroke, so that's a problem, because as soon as I enter something, it kind of changes. So that's kind of the glitchy part about Figma and the vector work we have in here, because you can see in here we have 2, and that's in no shape or form 2. If I go outside or inside, it just disappears. So honestly, I don't know what would be the best course of action in here. Maybe I'm just gonna leave it like this, but it's still 1, it's not 2. Maybe if I make it like this, no. So only when I make it 2 by 2 would then this stroke actually be the size that I want it. But then it just becomes like a big blob in here. And that's something that I haven't really found a really good fix for. So honestly, what I'm just gonna do is I'm gonna create a 2 by 2 filled shape in here, and it's gonna have to kind of flatten with all of the other details. In here, I don't want to have any kind of roundness, and in here I do have to manipulate this shape a little bit. So I'm going to create a dot in here and a dot in here, and then go back into edit mode and remove these. Now, when I select all of these items, I can just flatten the selection, and now we have a fill. So that's a problem again. So it seems like this shape is only going to work like if I flatten this and then combine it as a union, but then it would go against all of the other guidelines that we've created for the icons and how we've used them with flattening. So maybe the best course of action would be either to rethink the dot and to even have it in here or not, or to keep it, but this one icon is going to be built out of two shapes because one of them is requiring a stroke and the other one is requiring a fill. If we go in the other direction, this can also be created with an inside stroke. This is definitely not two, so maybe by doing this we kind of cheated the system a little bit, but no. why would it be simple if it isn't working, if it can be hard? So yeah, you can see it's not really getting us to the point where this is working. So I would just maybe rethink this dot for now. Or another thing that we can do is we can actually go into Phosphor icons and we can look if there is a dot that they were able to create, like in this Android. Oh yeah, so they've made it with vectors too. Yeah, I don't know then if there is a way for us to include this little dot into our printer. I was really excited to include it, but yeah, it seems like they've always used filled shape for this. So yeah, I do still think that this looks like a printer, so that's a plus, and it does feel like it's gonna work well with this. Maybe if we made it just 1 pixel lower, it would be even better. And yeah, sometimes you have to look at it with another icon next to it to figure out if you still need to balance it out a little bit visually. But yeah, those are all of my tips when I'm kind of working with icons, manipulating them, creating new ones, and some of the common struggles that you can come into when you're working with icons and you're unsure why something happens. Sometimes it's just a little glitch on Figma side. Sometimes it's something that requires a little bit of a rework or rethinking. But overall, I hope that this entire module helped you understand icons a little bit better, and that you're not gonna feel overwhelmed if you have a task where you have to either create an icon or like modify an existing one when you're using Figma for UX UI work.